So welcome back to Denali Guide. Today we're diving into something every investor needs if they're going to survive the modern markets. Your senses, your ears, your eyes, and yes, even your instincts. These aren't just animals, they're metaphors for how the markets really work. Cockroaches, owls, ravens, and tricksters. So let's just dive right in. The eyes and ears and the creatures of the market. Sometimes you use the phrase lying eyes, kind of borrowing it from the eagles. What are some signs investors tend to ignore, even if they're right in front of them?
Well, you have a fleet of talking heads, and they talk for a living. I have a chart of an oil stock, and the chart is going up. But the talking heads are telling you that oil's bad. Oil's going to go down. So who are you going to trust? The talking heads or your lying eyes?
Ah,
What you actually see. I can document that by bringing the chart out if I need to. Let's go with natural gas. Natural gas is going to suffer. And I'm like, winter is coming.
so how does modern gaslighting show up in today's markets?
Well, you have any number of people, again, the fleet of talking heads, telling you the narrative that this is so. And they hope that you don't actually go check and see what your lying eyes are going to tell you. Because your lying eyes belong to you. The narrative belongs to them. Who you're going to trust.
Well, I've often heard you say you are not the house. How should retail investors recalibrate their expectations, and what does that really mean?
You have to do your own due diligence investigations. How boring. Well, you have to look at the charts. You have to look at the fundamental information, and you don't have to listen to what the talking heads are telling you.
Well, this is
They
true.
talk for a living.
Yeah. So let's move on to the ears, hearing the whispers. You talk about listening to whispers. What kinds of whispers should investors pay attention to, and which ones should they avoid?
Well, I'll give you an example. Back in the 70s, when we were having this first gold eruption, I was doing well in the South African stocks, and it was in my hometown. And I heard a rumor that my brokerage company had bounced a check or two. Now, if I had listened to that, I would have got my stocks out of there before they went into bankruptcy. And guess what? They went into bankruptcy. It was 7 or 8 months before I got my money out. And by that time, 50% of my profits had evaporated. So when you hear something like that, and this could be buy on the rumor, sell on the news, the real upshot to that is act on what you hear, be diligent, but make sure you protect yourself.
Right. So you actually have recommended leaving a 30% margin for missing or false information. How does an investor practically apply that?
Well, I would say if you have a portfolio of 6 stocks, okay, and you have 3 going up, 2 in the middle, 1 going down, my review would say every month you take the weakest one, you eliminate it. You take the proceeds, take half the proceeds, put it in the strongest one. Hold the other half of the proceeds back as cash. You really don't want to be in a situation where a good possibility comes up and you have no dry powder to deploy.
Mm. So, how true is the old market axiom buy the rumor, sell the news, and does it still apply in 2025 as we close out this year?
Well, I think if you look at the possibility that a secret can only be kept by one person, if the minute it's no longer one person, it's going to leak out, I assure you. So, as a consequence, when you get the leak, You act on it if you think it's logical. And at that point, once they make a public announcement or have a press conference, it's time to get out.
Yeah. So another idea you have is about cockroaches and owls, red flags and big players. You use cockroaches as a metaphor for hidden problems. What are the most common cockroach signs in a company or a sector?
The stock should be going up and it doesn't. Somebody hates that stock somewhere. I've had it. Orcana was a great looking stock on paper. Their silver mine looked wonderful. The stock would never go up. And then one day I awoke to the fact that the entire mine had collapsed. Who knew? Somebody knew. And somebody hated it.
Yeah. So you mentioned owls as well, big players who stir in the dark before news breaks. How can an ordinary investor spot owl behavior before it hits the headlines?
Well, this was the Blue Owl Fund, if I remember right, and they were going to merge their more successful fund into two less successful funds to basically increase the return. So as a consequence, you have one that's doing great, you have two not so great. You hear rumors that those two are going to be folded in. I would flee. I would run far, run fast.
Okay. So the next section talks about ravens and coyotes, intelligence, ambush, and tricksters. Ravens are known for their intelligence. In market terms, who are the ravens? The insiders, the quants, and the seasoned veterans.
Well, you can skip the talking heads, but every now and then there comes somebody along who is extremely famous because they're smart, like Richard Russell, and as a consequence, you follow their principles. And the raven is the guy who sees not what happens next week, not what happens next month, but they see what's happening 6 months from now.
So how can following the ravens sometimes lead you straight into an ambush?
If you follow ravens blindly, right, without assessing the due diligence, what your risk-reward ratio is, you may want to veer off course and let the raven go on. And see, the raven may get destroyed.
You might. Now, we have the trickster coyote. It's a powerful image, a nice picture. What are the modern investing tricks that lure people into the kill zone?
Well, in this case, I would say it would be a company with a lot of money going out there, putting out rumors. We're going to invest in this company. Putting out a rumor. We hear there's a merger here. I got caught in Treasury Metals. Treasury Metals was going to merge another company, and their executives were from that other company. And then one day, it fell flat, and I took a hit on Treasury Metals. So you can't depend on what insiders say. I don't like what insiders say. I rather like what my lion eyes are telling me about the stock going up.
So what habits or disciplines help investors stay sharp instead of becoming someone else's groceries?
Well, you're going to get really tired of me saying this. Do your own due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean you're an accounting firm. It means you look at how the stock's doing relative to the news. You look at what their executives are. Management actually controls how a stock does. But what more controls how a stock does is a sector. Okay? So if steel's doing well, Nucor Steel probably will do well. Okay? If oil's doing badly, Phillips 66 might actually have a bad chart. You need to observe these things and believe your lying eyes.
Okay, so I know the answer to this already, but I'm going to ask it. If you could give one survival principle that overrides all the rest, what would it be?
Sell your worst stock.
Okay, that wasn't the answer I was expecting.
No? What answer were you expecting?
Do your own due diligence.
Oh, well, you're going
That's a survival principle.
Okay. Overall, in the old investment field, absolutely. You will not be able to substitute or survive without good intel.
So let's just turn the knob a little bit here. But what's the role of humility in staying alive as an investor?
The fact that you can be poleaxed anytime, it's just like
Can you explain that phrase, please? Because not everyone will know what that means.
Well, if you're familiar with Henry VIII, you know what it's all about.
That doesn't help.
No?
Give me more of an
He beheaded people he didn't like.
pole-axed.
A poleaxe is an axe head on a very long pole.
Okay.
Great leverage. Deadly weapon.
So you have to stay humble.
You have to be aware that you're always going to have vulnerabilities. As somebody was talking about, I never take a 50-50 chance. I may take a 70-30 chance, and I like more an 80-20 chance. But you can't get them all the time. So somewhere, somehow, somebody's going to get part of you. Make sure it's only a small part.
So just before we close off today, remember to like, subscribe, share. Go to Denali Guide website for the full blog post here. My last question for you, and this is Denali Guide. Do seasoned investors get tricked too, or does experience truly inoculate you?
You're never immune. You're never immune. In fact, that you think you're immune probably means you're riding for a fall.
So famous last words.
Oh, famous last words. Fear not, keep your stick on the ice.
Red, green for the win. Right?
Right.
So your senses are your defenses. Use your eyes, your ears, trust your instincts. This is what I've gotten from you today. Because out there in the markets, the difference between profit and loss can be as small as missing a whisper or ignoring something staring you in the face. Stay sharp, stay watchful. This is Doll, who is the producer of Denali Guide, and we're saying farewell for now.
Have a great day. Fear not.
Fear not. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.